Thank you. Hi Vamsi. This is Sanket. I am having close to 11 years of experience in implementation of APO and IBP solutions. So I have worked with multiple companies across different industries. So my experience both mainly with APO and IBP side. First of all, to as per the request for today's session, we are going to go through the APO PPDS side, which is production planning and detailed scheduling. So,
Okay.
first, before going to any kind of module, first we need to understand what is the network and what exactly happens at each level of the network. So, as you know, APO is a supply chain management tool which works with the supply chain management side, and it has different layers because it is best of planning side where the optimization happen. This optimization happens due to networking. So, majorly, like for example, you have in SAP ECC is there where you can do plant wise planning on a particular plant. You can do the production planning itself, but the additional thing in SCM APO is that it can optimize at every node, supply node. So for example, that it can like give you the results in plant level, it can give you results at distribution center, warehouse, and customer. So all the levels it can give you the results, and it can give you the exact based on the combinations that you have. Okay, which is like for example, you want a particular quota to be maintained, a particular transportation to go through, you need some kind of ratios there. All these feasibilities are there in APO. Okay. So first, let's start with the supply network flow. So what happens in the initial cycle of the supply network flow is the forecasting and sales order system. So sales order system is a separate thing where it comes from ECC, where we create the sales orders. So if you're aware, what is a sales order? Sales order is just like when you go to any shop and you purchase a product, against that you get an invoice, but for the company that has produced, they have a sales order raised. So this sales order will have your customer details, your material, distribution channel, all the details of the sales hierarchy will be maintained there with the salesman number and all those things. Okay. So based on this, the sales order is usually raised at ECC level in the SAP ECC side with a transaction called VA01. This sales order is actually is the like you can say is the basis of forecasting. Okay, so like the sales order become a history, and you can do like a full-fledged demand planning there. But what happens in the demand planning or the forecasting side that we do in APO, we take the sales order history. So why we take that? Because we have to analyze the trends. So for example, for last 3 months, we have been means we have been selling one product, and the customer is coming and buying that product in month of January, February, March. So we want to analyze the pattern, and based on that, we want to do the forecasting. So this forecasting is basically the forecasted orders or the forecast based on the sales orders. So this forecasting, as you see in the first phase, it is the forecasting or the sales order. Sales order is the actual orders, and forecasting is the forecasted order. So once this comes, it goes to distribution channels, and based on the distribution channels, it is produced. Like you send it for a to a you can say a warehouse, or you send it to a distribution centers. So for example, if I tell you a particular store is there, so when you as a customer you go and ask for some material, you directly do not get the product from the store itself. They put that in a distribution center as a requirement. That the distribution center as a requirement sends it to the plant itself, and the plant arranges the product. Either it does the manufacturing or it procures the product from outside. Okay. So based on this, the forecasting or the sales orders goes to the distribution center, which gets a distribution receipt, and then it becomes a distribution demand, which goes to the regional distribution centers, and then it goes to the plant where you have plant orders which gets converted into a production orders, and you have dependent demand which is like a component of the planned orders that you have or the production orders that you have. So this is like what you can say, a particular finished good is there. Under that you have different semi-finished goods, raw material, consumable. Those are called bill of materials or BOM. Against that, whatever demand is there. So if I give you a short example, if there is a finished good, so there might be three BOM items. Okay. So this BOM items means, so this BOM might be like raw material, semi-finished goods, consumable. Okay, so finished good, whatever it is, for example, you have 100 units required. Now to produce this 100 units, how much raw material you require? It can be like 200 units, and for this semi-finished good, you might require 150 units. So basically, this part which you are seeing based on the consumable raw material semi-finished goods, this is called dependent demand, and this is the independent demand. And this independent demand, how it comes? It comes from a forecast or a sales orders. And on different layers, like for example, here the customer is putting the demand. It goes to a, like you go to the store, then it puts in the distribution center, and then you go to a plant. The plant will either produce, okay, or else it will procure. So if it produces, it will be in-house. If it procures, it will be from a supplier. Okay. So when it is in-house, it will be a planned order which gets converted into a production order, and this procurement will be purchase requisitions, which goes to the supplier for getting this particular product. Okay. So based on this, this entire network starts, and you get the, against that you get a distribution demand, and then distribution demand flows into the component factory, because finished goods, whatever the BOM items will be there, somewhere it might be manufactured. So either it goes for the manufacturing into the component factory, it gets there, or through the supplier. Okay, or it can go from a supplier to the component factory and get the items as per the requirement, which is through the purchase requisitions. So this is how the overall supply chain network works. So here you can see this part where you are seeing the forecasting and sales order system. So forecasting is purely done in demand planning side, which is the SAP APO demand planning, where you have different kind of forecast models, which gives you the requirements, means which gives you the forecasting for the future horizon. There are forecast profiles to maintain that. You have CVCs that are the master data there. All these things gives you the demand planning side, and it gives you the demand for the as an input for the supply network planning, which is the next module. And in supply network planning, you have different algorithms like heuristics or optimizer. Based on that, you get the requirements, and these requirements flows below where like the disaggregation happens, and you get the final like results on in terms of planned orders or like purchase requisition. So planned orders get converted to production orders. Now, next for the PPDS, what happens after the SNP side? Whatever requirement you have on the planned orders and the your purchase requisition, this gets transmitted to the PPDS side. But before going to that, certain things are mandatory for a PPDS to start. Like for example, a plant should be there, vendors should be there, customers, material master, production versions, work centers, scheduling agreements, contracts, purchasing info records. These are certain things that they it is required. Okay, which is like which will drive the APO side. Now certain things like plant, vendors and customers, they become locations here in APO side. material master becomes production masters. So when I am seeing on the left side is from the ECC side, and this is on the APO side. So what happens? These things, plants, vendors, customers, whichever you are seeing here, they get converted to locations through core interface, which is a middleware for the APO and ECC side. Okay, so through which they get transferred to locations, and you have material master, which is there in ECC, where you maintain the materials in MM01, and you these materials will have different kind of material groups to be maintained, different MRP parameters to be maintained, costing, accounting, all those things are maintained. So once it is maintained, it goes to product masters. This product master that you are seeing in APO, it is visible in MAT 1, which is a transaction in APO. And then you have production version, which is like the combination of your bombs. Means you have your bombs, your routing or recipes, material list. These things, they are clubbed and moved to as a production version in APO side as PPM, which is called production process models. They become converted into PPM side, and this helps you to drive, like for example, a resource is there and you have bill of material. It tightly knots that and gives you the requirement, means helps you to drive the production planning side. Because for example, a particular material is there. So for example, you have product one is there, and you have resources which has different operations. Operation 1. So if I take example of milling and drilling as few of the operations, this resource, whatever, for example, a lathe machine is there, this is the resource which has operation milling and drilling. Now this product can have like bomb items. Now, what is the requirement? Like, for example, this product one is X. Now, to produce this, how much, means what resources you require, what operations are there? For that, you need PPMs. So, this PPMs gives you the clarity on the routing side and bomb side. So, how you can link, for example, one particular bomb item is there for X. Okay. So, this is Y and this is Z. So why with the milling machine and why with the drilling machine? How much operation time will be required, and how much, what is the linkage, how it will drive, how your capacity can be tracked, how your resource planning can be done. This helps through the PPM side. That is the one that gets from production version. And these things are done through SIF core interface, and this you can do through CFM01, CFM2. You maintain the integration models and you transfer these things, production versions, into PPM. And finally, this is how these things go forward. Okay. So, and these below that you are seeing, work centers, these are like the other parts of the master data. So these work centers are just like whatever the machines you are there, so they are created as work centers into resources. Okay, like I showed lathe machine is a work center in your material, your ECC side, which is a resource in APO side. Now you have scheduling agreements, contract, purchase info records. These are transactional data which are maintained in your ECC side. This also gets converted into a procurement relationships in APO sites. And beside that, below also there are certain transactional data. You can see on the left side, which is for sales order, which is sales order itself, the production or process order. This also becomes the production or process order itself. And here manual reservations will be manual reservation, planned orders will be planned orders, PIRs will be PIRs. So they get transferred from the ECC side to the APO side through core interface. Okay, and these transfers happens to make you like entire planning should be done in the APO side, because of the networking side and how the different master data can be utilized to give you a optimized planning there. So that is the reason we transfer everything from the ECC side, because material master, whatever the MRPs are there, whatever the MRP types are there, what are the strategies there, and what are the feasibilities that are there, it helps the APO side to derive the planning side, and it makes things better, because everything if you create in APO, it's not possible. It also doesn't help you to derive the planning entirely. Now, how do you like see from the PPDS side what exactly PPDS helps? PPDS helps to create proposals for in-house production and external procurement to cover product requirements. So when we have product requirements, these product requirements will be fulfilled either through in-house production or external procurement. So PPDS helps them to create the proposals to fill the gap. So whatever the proposal, for example, a purchase requisition or a plant order is there, how to proceed ahead with it. So a plant order, how it should be like converted into a production order, and then this production orders, how it will be scheduled, how it will be planned, so that you fill the customer requirement, which one you need to confirm and which one you need to reject. All these things are done in PPDS. Now, what apart from this PPDS does, it optimize and plan resource scheduling and order dates, time and detail. So for example, a production order is there, you have particular dates, in on what date your production should start. These things are decided in the PPDS side, how the resource scheduling should happen. So whatever, for example, a lathe machine, when it should start, what is the start time, end time, all these things are maintained in PPDS side. And then the third part, what it is there, is to reduce the lead times, increase on-time delivery performance, reduce stockouts, and better coordination of resource production and procurement. So what exactly it means? Lead time means, for example, I am producing a product. Now customer will agree that by 15 days I need the product. So this lead time that you get from customer, it is translated into production or lead time as well. So production delivery time you say. So where your production time is there, your goods receipt time is there, all these things are involved. How much time it will take to produce the particular product, so and how much time it will take to deliver it to the customer. So that time, for example, we keep 12 days as a time where you produce the goods and we do the processing of the like how we can send it to the customer, how by when he will receive that on his receival, that time we calculate that. So this reduce lead time means, it will, if we plan better, it is going to reduce the timeline, and it is going to help the customer achieve or fulfill his requirement. Okay. Next is that increase on time delivery performance, because the planning is proper through production planning and detailed scheduling. It is going to reduce the time of delivery. Like, because for example your production is of 12 days or 10 days. Now if you can do the proper planning and you can get the products by timeline and you produce these products, you can deliver on time as well. And if you do not plan that, you will be not on time, so it will go beyond the lead time that you have agreed with the customer. So for that, it helps to increase the on time delivery performance. Now reduce stockouts means, so if you produce these goods will be stored in the store itself or the warehouse itself. Now when it will be stored in the warehouse itself, it is going to let maintain us kind of a safety stock level, which is like a buffer stock, and it will never allow you to have a stock out situation. So stock out situation means, in your warehouse nothing is there, customer is asking for product or there is a requirement in the market, but you do not have products to give it to the customer. So that time it's a stock out situation. And better coordination of resource production and procurement. So in this, the resource and the production and the procurement side, all the things, there is a coordination happening, which is going to help the supply chain to run perfectly. So this is the purpose of APO PPDS side. Then next is process flow, how you initiate with the PPDS side. So to initiate the PPDS side, there are two ways. First, whatever your forecasting has been done, that becomes your demand. Now you release this demand planning through mass processing or through online. So there are two ways you can transfer the demand plan. Now how you do through the demand plan, there are certain things that you need to follow. So this prerequisite includes a release profile to be maintained. Now if I show you in the system, so this is a release profile. So you can see here a planning area is maintained, a key figure is there, a target planning version is there. This is a category. So what happens? These are different categories in the SNP side. Okay, so SNP side you can see in the top like process order is there, and then you have projected orders are there, purchase requisition, planned orders. So these are different categories which are maintained in SNP. And SNP, what it does, because APO demand planning works on key figures and SNP works on category, it is sending that particular data that you have maintained in a particular key figure. For example, you are maintaining this in a forecast key figure, it is sending to a category. Now, when you say FA, you can see here, if I search here, what comes in FA? Now it comes as forecast requirement. Okay, so it will be sent to this particular as a forecast itself, and how it will send with the combination of product characteristic and location characteristics. Now this, once you maintain that, you also need to maintain the product split. Now once this product split and all the details are maintained, this becomes your release profile. Now, once this release profile is maintained, you create activity. Now, activity is like you are, if I show you in the screen, you are going to like create the steps ahead. Like you maintain the release profile here. Now, for the activity, just 1 minute. So, if you take this transaction, you see here, your activity is maintained. So this activity, for example, you are maintaining and you want to create it. So here you will maintain the planning book, whatever you want to maintain. This data view. So data view means a particular planning book that you have, a demand planning book. It has a data view as well, a fixed kind of, um, you can say a fixed kind of key figures are there, fixed timelines are there, you have a particular storage bucket profile, all these things are maintained, and according to that a data view is there. So this data view, under a planning book, you mention that, and you maintain the release profile here. So if you go here, you maintain the release profile that you have created earlier. Now this release profile, once it is created, then you do the other parts where you create the planning job, means where you put the job name and the data view, all these things, details, and then you schedule the job, and you check that in SM37, which is like a scheduler, which will give you like, it is like something like a batch job that you're maintaining here. So all the demand items that you're seeing, all the numbers, for example, one particular week you have 100, 200, on the second week, on the third week it is 400. This particular week, all the data that goes to the SNP side. So this transfer, once it goes to SNP, then you have requirement planning and other things that happens. Now the other way of sending the demand is through this demand plan online. How it is done? It is done through MC90. So directly we go to this particular transaction, and you maintain the planning area, planning version, key figure, planning versions, category, like I showed, the FA1 that you maintain, the horizons, planning bucket profile, the period split, whatever you want to maintain, the product and the location, all these things you maintain and release. It will automatically share the whatever you have in the forecasting side to the SNP side, and you are able to have the numbers there as a forecast. So once you have the forecast, then you do the SNP planning there. So once it is there, you have other things also which has to be maintained. You maintain the forecast consumption also. Now what exactly your forecast consumption? Because once this thing are maintained, your forecast is done, and you run the requirements, you run the heuristics or the optimizer. So based on the heuristics, you get the requirements in terms of planned orders or purchase requisitions. Now, these things that you run, there are multiple heuristics and optimizer options. So it can like heuristics can be on a multi-level also, single also, and location wise also. So based on that, there are different heuristics, and you have optimizer heuristic optimizer algorithm also, which is multi-linear regressions and bilinear regressions. Based on that, you run the like planning there. You get, it is just like a MRP tool. So like we have in ECC, a MRP which runs and gives you the requirement. Similarly in APO, you have heuristics and optimizer. The only difference is that in MRP, it is like you maintain the MRP input parameters and you get the requirement. Here you maintain the locations, you maintain the master data, which is the location product, quota arrangement, PPM, PTS, and transportation lane. All these things are maintained, and post that only you can like run the heuristics and you get the results in terms of quantity, and optimizer will have cost involved in that. Okay, so based on this, you have the requirement. Now, beside this, the requirement, you need also other things which has to be maintained in terms of PPDS. This is called forecast consumption. Now, if I tell you what exactly forecast consumption is, if I go here and show you this figure. So when your forecast is like generated, the forecast that you have sent to from the demand planning side, which goes to the SNP side, this forecast becomes the demand there, and this demand becomes plant independent requirement. So now plant independent requirement, or like at a finished good level, this can be consumed. This can be consumed through what? So it can be consumed through a sales order. And so for example, you have a PIR and you have a sales order or the customer requirement. Okay, so this PIR that you are having, this is coming for your forecast, and this plant independent requirement can be consumed by a sales order. Now, forecast consumption is basically what it is telling based on the timeline. So, for example, you are in the month of January, February, March. So, for example, your actual or the current month is this one, March. So anything before March, so it might be December last year. Anything before this, you set the like the timeline there, and anything on the PIR side, any PIRs are there. I mean, any forecast is there, or any requirement that is available here in the SNP side. So, for example, there is a PIR of 100 that is there in this, and a sales order come. Now, sales order of 80 comes here. First, it will consume this in the backward horizon itself. So this one is a backward horizon, and how it is maintained? It is maintained at a product location level. So if I go here and if I show you, so this is a product, and if I go here in the demand side, so in the demand side, one second. So in the forecast, here you can see in the edit mode, if you go in the consumption mode, you have backward consumption only, backward and forward consumption only. So these things are mandatory fields that are to be maintained in the location product. Now, location product, there are other things also which we maintain while we do the PPDS side. We maintain these are the basic things that you need to maintain, like unit of measure, classification, storage, ATP rules, SNP1, SNP2. So SNP1, SNP2, here the SNP2 is the major one where you maintain the deployment profile and other things, the ATP received issues. All these fields have to be maintained. Pull and push horizons are maintained. Fair share rule for the deployment side is to be maintained. So this is basically for the deployment side. This is basically for the supply side. So, and this is for the demand profile. Okay. So based on this, you have these things are maintained. And once you maintain the consumption mode here and you maintain the horizon here, so you maintain 60 days, 90 days. So if you maintain 90 days, it will consider for 3 months and it will go in a backward way. So here when it goes only for backward horizon, it is called backward consumption. Now, if you go with the forward consumption, it will go from the current to forward months. So if you go April, May, and June. So it is going to the forward consumption mode. So it will check the forward horizon. It will check if there are any PIRs there. Against that, a sales order which has come, it will net against that. It will check the stocks. If stocks are there, that based on this, it will consume these PIRs and it will give you the like final how much I require. So based on this, it is automatically consuming your orders. Okay, based on your sales order, it is like going and taking out your PIRs or a forecast, and it is like nullifying that. And in terms of the third one, like if I go here, you see here backward is there, forward is there, and is backward and forward. So if you maintain this period horizon, you maintain it for 30 days and this one is 30 days, it will go both sides. It can go. So if I go here, if I put 30 days, what it will do, it will check in the month of February and it will check in the month of April also. So once this mode is defined, if you want for accordingly, you can define these three: backward forecast consumption, forward consumption, or backward forward consumption. So 30 days, according to that, it will take. So whatever horizon you maintain, based on that, it will net against the PIR and you will get the means requirement accordingly. Now, next is the requirement strategy. Now, what is the requirement strategy? In requirement strategy, you have different strategies which are maintained to do your planning. Because, for example, this make to stock. Now, what does a make to stock means? Make to stock means you are maintaining the forecast or the requirement, and whenever a sales order comes, it will go and fetch from here from the requirement plan. Okay, so this requirement plan will be maintained as like for example 100, 200, and once it is maintained it will be stored in a stock itself, stock on hand. Okay, so you majorly make to stock means you are trying to stock the warehouse, and you do not want to, like, this is used in industries when they don't want to, they want to maintain surplus amount of product and they want to sell it to the customer. And these kind of things usually in pharmaceuticals or FMCG they do it, and they maintain this, you know, the stocks there on like a safety stock level, and they maintain this, and they want to like do not run out of any stockouts, or if the order is not there it is immaterial, if but still they maintain the stock. But whenever the sales order comes, it goes and checks against the forecast, like against the like whatever the forecast for the future month they have done, or the current month whatever the forecast has been kept. Based on that it nets and nullifies that. So for example 100 out of that 80 is there, it will net that. And for example here 20 stock is there, so this one will not be 20. So it might be like, for example, because in the previous month they might have made more. So this one 80 minus 100 or like you can say first it will check the stocks whatever is there. So 40 is there, another 40 from here, so 60 will be there. So another 60 will be produced here, and this 60 will go here in the stock itself, stock on hand itself. So basically it is trying to produce more and more and stock in your warehouse, and it is not dependent on a sales order or any kind of order directly from the customer. Based on that it will not produce. Okay. Now in the second one, forecast with assembly means, with the finished good it want to do the forecasting ahead. And majorly what happens, it impacts in the conversion side. So whenever a plant order is there, you can convert that into production order only at the final products level. So there are BOM items also under a finished good, but it can be converted like into a like a plant order into a production order only for final products, not for component products. Now, focusing without assembly means only the BOM items will be converted. Okay. So this plant orders which will be convertible to the production orders, and basically it is a kind of strategy that they use in different kind of industry. And then the forecasting without assembly for configurational products means without the final any kind of final product, only the configurational product it is considering. And then you have planning product which is considering the assembly product. So like with the final product and the components it is considering that. So these kind of requirement strategies are there which are maintained. And this once it is maintained, so where you will see this one as maintained, if you go here in the requirement strategy, in the proposed strategy it is maintained. Under here you select one of them and then you go ahead. Okay. And now you can see here 10, 20, 30, 35, 40, these are there only. VMI is mostly not used, majorly not used, like for it is for contractual purpose or like your merchandising side. And this one is not there, it is in 250. So as per like the current licensing, this is not activated. So these 10 to 40 usually are there in most of the APO side that they use. So this is how it goes in the requirement strategy. So first you maintain the on the location product level all the fields that are required to derive the PPDS side. Now unless and until you do not maintain this, PPDS will not be able to suffice your requirement. So these are like some of the prerequisites that you require for the PPDS to run. Now once that is done, any like the PIRs that you are saying, we'll say there are other things in the PISR. So in the PIR, any kind of planned quantity is called a forecast, assigned quantity is the sales order, and open planned order is also a open sales orders that is there. And withdrawal quantity, whatever withdrawal is done for the sales order, it is done from the stock itself. Okay. So that PIR basically is a demand driven thing where the like the forecast is converted into a plant independent requirement. This independent requirements is like netted against the sales orders, and it will be tracked through, you know, whatever the sales orders are there, it will consume it. And then only when the like PIR is confirmed and they are going forward, they will be produced and you will have a receipt against that on a distribution level wherever it is produced. Now next is the function related to PPDS. Now PPDS function is on the scheduling side. You have other option to print withdrawal components, so requirements and components are reduced. Okay, like in R3 side, and reaction in APO is the requirement and component stock are reduced synchronously in APO as well. So basically, whenever you maintain the requirements there, these requirements are netted against your stock itself, and you can withdraw, you can raise order are confirmed as well as withdrawn. So those kind of manipulations can be done in PPDS. You also need confirmation also. So quantities are reduced, confirmed partial quantities are done, operations are moved from the still start date to the original duration. All these changes in ECC and APO side you do, and then you play around with the orders here. So if I show you, Example of this is, so here you see here, if I start with the customer side, all these things happens. You can see here from the customer demand plan, and then when you check in the master data, and you have the demand at the customer level, release the demand to the SNP and PPDS side. Then planning run, as I told, in heuristics are done, and then this sales orders are consumed based on the requirement that you have. Then you do the adjustments. Then this generate convert the planned orders to production orders. All these things happens, and these production orders gets converted to process orders. So basically, this is how the overall process happens. And in PPDS side, you can see here all what happens. All the you create orders, and then all dependent requirements are consumed, and then you do the automatic planning and the background planning there. And this dependent requirement, you do the change in the orders itself. Okay, so for which one you need to confirm, which one you need to reject, all these things are done. And interactively it is done from like ECC to APO, because for example the production orders are always there in ECC also, and you have options here where the planned orders can be converted into production order in APO as well. So you can exchange that, you can confirm that, can change orders there. And these planned orders are then converted based on production order, based on the indicators that you maintain there. And then you do the printing part, you do the withdrawal. For example, a reduction you want to do from the component level, you do that, you do the confirmation, you reduce the quantities. All these things happens, and based on that your receipts happens. Okay, so this is how the overall PPDS side works. And the last thing that is there, like a major thing that is there in PPDS, is pegging. So pegging is a concept that links the receipt element with the requirement element. And a pegging area is the context of the APO PPDS is a combination of the product, location, account assignment, object, and planning version. So if you see here in the bottom, one screenshot I have attached. So basically it is linking your receipt with your requirement what you have. Okay, so here for example a plant date is there, a material is there, a plant is there, and the receipt is 20 maintained. Now what is the route for this source requirement to MRP element? So it is like a cache memory. It will just check how much is, like, based on your timeline, how much is your fixed pegged quantity, how much is your dynamic pick. So dynamic doesn't have a fixed thing that is maintained. So there is no tolerance or nothing maintained. So if I go here, pegging is maintained here. So just 1 minute. So if you go here in the pegging side, here in the demand itself, you maintain these fields. So you can maintain the interval, you can maintain the tolerances on the product, on the delivery side, on the total receipts and stocks. Based on that, the pegging happens. So it is like, the connection between the receipts and the requirements that you have. So you can maintain a buffer there, and this is giving you a pegged requirement itself. So for further things, I think when you like out for the class, I can like show you one after the other how the process happens, and how it can, like, the entire planning happens, and how you confirm the orders, how you do the pegging, and how the other parts, how you derive the reports there, how you move from the core interface master data to your APO side, and how the orders are changed on the change pointer itself. All these things will be taught in the course also. So do you have any question? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
any question further?
No, as of now, it's a good session from you.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Then you can revert back to the agency and confirm if you want to take pursue ahead with the classes.
Yeah,
Accordingly, I will be like teaching step by step things. Okay.
yeah, 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 sure.
Thank you.